All right, guys, welcome back to 243 Outdoors. My name is Josh. Today we are going to take a look at the VCU Tech Ultrasonic Cleaner. This is the part number JP2500T. It is a 2-liter ultrasonic cleaner. I picked this up on Amazon a couple weeks ago. It was $100, had some credit card points, and I thought that'd be a good addition to the channel. So I've been playing with it a little bit, and I decided it's time to make a video. So for you guys that don't know what an ultrasonic cleaner is, basically we're going to add water to this container basket that it has inside here, and we're going to add a little bit of a degreaser. It could be like Simple Green, Purple Power, something like that. And what it does, it creates vibrations or the ultrasonic waves in the water to clean things. It basically vibrates the water and breaks up the dirt and grime. So these have been very popular in the firearms community. They're really starting to get affordable. Used to, they were quite expensive, and I think on eBay and also Amazon, you can find some cheaper units for around $30, $40. This one, like I said, costs right at $100. All the reviews seem pretty good on it. As the positive reviews, it worked well, and the negative reviews, basically it didn't work out of the box. So I thought this would be a one worth trying. So I've had it for a few weeks. I have cleaned some brass. I wasn't real impressed with how it cleaned the brass. The brass was already pretty clean, but like the inside didn't change much. But I had a SKS that was covered in Cosmoline, and this was well worth its price to get that cleaned up. The gun's new, unfired, and all the parts come out absolutely spotless, looking like brand new. Saved a lot of time, a lot of scrubbing. I've cleaned my Glock 43 with it, total disassembly, and it cleaned it up very nice. So what we're going to do today is I have my Glock 19 disassembled, and I'm going to demonstrate on you. I'll show you the breakdown of it. It's already took apart, but all the parts, how dirty they are, we will clean them in it, and then we'll examine them and put it back together. So let me get set up, and we'll get started. So on the bench here, I have my Glock 19 fully disassembled, the striker, everything's took apart on it, and we'll inspect it here before we start. One of the dirtiest pieces is the extractor here. There's quite a bit of carbon buildup on it, so we'll take a look at that and see how well it does. The slide's got a lot of soot and stuff in it, so we'll do that. We have the striker channel down in it, which often gets a lot of little brass residues from the primer, so we'll see how well that cleans up. On our trigger assembly here, we got a lot of black soot and carbon there, so we'll see how well that cleans up. We have the barrel here as well, and you can see a little bit of dirt and grime in there. And then also the feed ramp. I don't expect it to get some of this really caked on carbon like on the feed ramp, but we'll see how well it does. And then also we have the lower. I'll be putting every bit of this in there, and it has also a little bit of that soot and stuff in it too. So we'll get this stuff dumped in it and see how it does. So once you plug in the machine, it is powered up. The default setting on the time is 180 seconds, and we can change that by using the set button. We can do 90, 180, 280, 380, 480, 580, and 680 seconds. That's the longest cycle time, so that's the one we'll be using. This unit also heats. It heats the water from 41 degrees Fahrenheit to 153 degrees. I don't worry about that. We can get 125 degree water out of the tap, so I just run the hot water out of the tap, and that's what we use. It has a degas function, and what this does, it runs for 9 seconds and it stops for 6 seconds. It allows some of the air that gets trapped in the water to escape, and it also is supposed to enhance the cleaning. We have a couple little baskets here. So according to the instruction, the basket is optional use, so it's used to set smaller items in it to avoid them in the tank, to avoid potential damage from friction. So I take that as kind of optional. It separates stuff out. We'll be using it today, I guess. We have a couple small parts that might fall through, and if they do, it's not a big deal. We can fish them out of the bottom. This is, like I said, about a 2-liter capacity, and what we're going to do is dump our water in here. There is a minimum line right there and a maximum line. So we're going to fill it up pretty close to the top. We'll have to allow a little bit for the volume of the parts. Like I said, I just run this water out of the tap. I used a thermometer, and it was 125 degrees, probably about 3 or 4 minutes ago. So we'll stop there about maybe a half, 3/8 an inch before the full line. We'll set our basket in, and we'll start adding our parts. So I'm gonna do this cleaning in 2 parts. We're gonna do these parts here first, and then that'll pretty much fill the bottom of the tank up, and then we'll use the pistol grip lower for the second half. So we'll start adding our parts here. That water is very warm. And what I've cleaned before, it's done a very good job on springs. I've been very impressed how well it cleans springs. Some of these parts are not very dirty at all, and others have a little bit of dirt and grime and carbon on them. Try to keep everything kind of separated out. A few of these smaller pieces might fall through. And then we have our 3 pins. We might pick that up out of that groove there, but. So we're gonna add a little bit of this purple power. I really like this degreaser cleaner. I use it out in the shop quite a bit. And we're just gonna pour a little bit in there. Not really measuring it, but. That ought to be good. This will run with or without the lid, so if you have a larger object, it can hang out. So we're just gonna hit on and let it go. So that's the sound it makes. We'll put our lid on. We'll come back here when it's close to done, and we'll inspect our parts. So we're about halfway through the cycle, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn these parts over. I'm gonna turn this trigger assembly over. I don't know if that makes a difference, but we'll flip this barrel over. Slide stop over. So we'll continue on. All right, we are done with a 680-second cycle. So we'll get everything pulled out and we'll inspect it. You can see a little bit of dirt and grime on the bottom of the basket and also in the bottom of the pan. So we definitely got some of the gunk off of this. One thing we got to remember is we have stripped all the oil off of these parts, so we'll need to make sure we get them extremely dry and reapply some oil so we don't get rust. And if it's not clean enough for you, you can also run additional cycles. And what I've found, if there is a little bit of residue on these, a small brush or a Q-tip will generally wipe pretty much all of it off. The springs, it's handy to use a little bit of compressed air to get them dry. I have the takedown pins left. Kind of hard to get a hold of. There we go. that's all the parts. Let me get my hand dried off. I'll show you inside this tank of all the dirt and grime that we have removed. So that's quite a bit of stuff that's come off of that. And then here's a part. So let me reset the camera up and we'll inspect them. Okay, so I have another towel here. We'll start with the barrel. I'm gonna wipe it off, get the water off of it. We'll want to swab a patch through this too. But the outside of the barrel looks extremely clean. We still do have a little bit of carbon on that feed ramp, which we can hit that with a brush. Looking down the barrel, looks very clean. So that's one thing I noticed when I cleaned my Glock 43, is it did a pretty good job on the barrel, but the feed ramp did leave a little bit. This trigger assembly, get it dried off just a little bit. So I'll hit this with a little bit of compressed air, get all that water out of there. But it looks pretty good. There was quite a bit of carbon and soot. There's still just a little bit there, but not a whole lot. And like I said, we can probably take a Q-tip and get the rest of that really easy. But this gets down in here, all that gunk out of there, any debris, any carbon out. That spring in there looks extremely clean. And this extractor here, dry it off a little bit. So it's got a little bit of wear on it. This pistol has a very high round count, but it looks like it done a pretty good job on that. Pretty impressed with it. Our spring had a little bit of carbon buildup on the inside of the fins, and I still see a little bit, but it doesn't look too bad. Go ahead and take a look at our slide. So I've got that color filled just a little bit, and it removed a little bit of it, but we can reapply that. The carbon and soot inside there seems to be gone. So looking down the striker channel, I don't know if you can see a whole lot, but looks pretty good to me. So we'll get the rest of these parts dried off, and then we'll apply a little bit of oil to them. Here's our slide stop. It had quite a bit of carbon on it as well. And it looks like it done a pretty good job. So that is one of the reasons that I wanted this size, is for cleaning handguns. So it makes it pretty easy just to disassemble, toss it in there, dry it off, lube it up, and put it back together. There's really no scrubbing involved. So I'm gonna put this the bottom lower part in, get it going, and then while I'm doing that, I'll get this dried up, and then we'll come back and we'll put it back together. I'm going to use the degas function on this one, so it's run for 9 seconds, and then it shuts off, and then it'll start up again. So we'll run that style on this, and I'll get this dried up and cleaned up, and then we'll come back. All right, I got everything dried off. We're going to let the pistol lower finish here. It's still got a couple minutes left. I'm going to run a dry patch through this barrel just to see how clean it got it. This is a clean dry patch. So we pushed a little bit of crud out. Do a second one here. So second one come out pretty clean. So if anything, it loosened up a lot of that dirt and grime, and like I said, that's clean. We'll run a little bit of CLP through it and get it lubed up and make sure we're clean. Also took just my microfiber towel on this feed ramp, and I just wiped on it. I didn't get aggressive with it. I didn't use a brush, and all that carbon pretty much came right off that feed ramp. So it's pretty impressed with that. So run this patch one more time through here. Yeah, and see, we're pretty much spotless. So that broke up everything inside that barrel. It's clean and dry now, so we'll get this lower finished up, and then we'll put it back together. Okay, it's been about 10 or 15 minutes since this got done. I took it out, I blew it off the air hose. Everything has had time to dry, And I'll give you a view inside here. It does a pretty good job. There's just a little bit of what I call, it's more like a film, and you can take a Q-tip and get a little bit of that off. Ain't really no big deal. It's almost stained, but inside that looks a whole lot better. It's really clean. There's no dirt or nothing on the grip or in any of the grooves. It does a really good job, but you just want to make sure you get it all dried out really well. I have dried all the other parts and applied a thin lube of CLP on them. So I just dab a little bit and then wipe all the surfaces down. Then I take my microfiber towel and then I wipe it down again. So as you can see on this underside of the slide, very clean. There might be just a little bit of a kind of a smoke finish right there. Where the striker comes out, it's all extremely clean. So it does a pretty good job. Sight's nice and white. The finger grooves are all nice and clean. Basically, if there's any grime on this when it comes out of the ultrasonic, just wipe it down and it pretty much all comes off. The trigger assembly here, it had just a little bit of film up here and the towel wiped it all right off. So that's all extremely clean. We'll put 1 drop of oil in that spring when I get it back together, but same thing with the barrel. The feed ramp wiped right off. I run the patches through like you've seen, and the barrel's clean. And then I applied just a thin film of oil on it and then wiped it down. I went through all the other parts. This extractor, it's getting a little bit of wear where the finish is coming off of it, but it cleaned it up pretty good. Don't lose it. So, a little plunger. This pistol's probably got around 6,000 rounds through it, so it's got quite a bit of rounds through it, but I have always kept it clean, so it never has got too dirty. But this is the first time ultrasonic cleaning it, and it makes it a lot easier. Disassemble it, clean it, dry it off, lube it, put it back together. So I'll throw this back together and show you what we got. All right, we got it all back together. Did a little time lapse putting it back together. That one pin just gave me a little bit of trouble. I had to shove it in from the other side and it went right in. You just have to have that just right to get it. But I finished color filling that in just a little bit, get it back where it was. We're all lubed up and we are looking good. So we're clean and we function check. Clean and clear. Reset. So we're good. So quick little look at this ultrasonic cleaner. I'm pretty impressed with it. It's a really good way to clean pistols. Strip them down, clean them, wipe them down, put them back together. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.